Greetings, podsters and podlars, and welcome to Cazza and Tracy talk Gavin and Stacey. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Cazza.
And we are here to talk about what's occurring in Season 3, Episode 6 of Gavin and Stacey. And as always, to give a bit of an overview, let's begin with Tracy's Pracy. Well, it's the last episode of the last season, so we know that things have to get resolved. Nessa and Dave have to get married or not. Smithy needs to find a way for him and his baby to be part of each other's lives in a meaningful way. And Gavin and Stacey have their fertility issues to confront. The fertility issues are dealt with pretty quickly when Stacey is acting weirdly until she presents Gavin with 34 pregnancy tests, all of them positive. Happy ending number 1. Then, in stark contrast to Gavin and Stacey's wedding, Nessa's wedding comes complete with the cliched stop at if anyone knows any reason that these two people should not be married. Well, it's Smithy, Neil in his arms, who tells Nessa she shouldn't be marrying Dave. Dave, maintaining his dignity until the end, agrees and he leaves the church. Not exactly happy ending too, but it's not an unhappy ending either. The episode ends with a short moment, which is texted 6 months later. They're all sitting on the wall at the beach, Stacey pregnant, the three of them waiting for Smithy, who arrives and asks, "What's occurring?" So that's a very quick roundup of what happened.
Yes.
But what was it about for you?
Well, it's the resolution of the Nessa, Smithy, Dave love triangle. And I thought it was a little bit of a nod to a soap opera wedding. You know, they did have all the getting ready stuff and then that final dramatic moment. Even down to the song, I think. Yeah. Because that was very famously the song that Kylie and Jason Donovan walked down the aisle to in Neighbours, and then they used it with Nessa. So, so I thought it was a bit of a nod at the tropes of that.
It hit all the beats of a soap opera wedding. It was excellent. Yeah. They had to bring all the threads together, I think, which they did nicely, because at the time, I think we didn't know there would be 1 and then 2 Christmas specials, right? So they had to sort of leave us happy with the ending, but still leave us somewhere to go, didn't they? In case they could have had a Christmas special.
Yeah. And they definitely did that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So what?
And it was a great. Maybe it's my favourite wedding episode if we're talking soap opera. Not that I watch many soap operas, but it was so funny, and I loved all Nessa's dress stuff, and
it was a good wedding.
Prep.
Yeah, they turned everything on turned everything upside down. It was very good.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, how did you find it watching it now? Because it's many years later, isn't it?
Obviously, I've come to the point where I go, no notes. It still stands up. It's a really, really good episode. And my one whinge, and this is just small, is that we never get to see Pam and Mick's joy at the pregnancy announcement. So we never get that moment. And I would have loved to have seen that moment, wouldn't you?
I thought that was really interesting. They do a lot of stuff off stage, like a lot of those big moments they do off stage. So we don't see Gavin and Stacey. We only see Gavin say to Stacey, "You've been engaged 6 times." We never see how they talk about it. Lots of that stuff happens off stage, and I did think that was interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of those, that's a big soap opera thing, kind of hashing through a big fight, but the simple joy. Can you imagine Pam and Mick when they get that news after they've been so worried? They would anyway, I just have to imagine that in my own head. So it's a minor whinge, but.
Yeah, well, so this isn't really my favourite episode. The ending with Nessa and Dave and Smithy was perfect. I didn't like the pregnancy bit. I felt like it diminished the really amazing work they'd done earlier, and I know they had to give us a happy ending, but that is not how infertility works. And I thought it was really disrespectful. They'd done so much great stuff in it and really about normalising it, and then, but I got pregnant. I get why they had to do it, and this is probably a highly personal response, but I felt like it really diminished the great stuff that they had done before. But I still enjoyed it. I don't
know enough medically about a low sperm count, because it's not the same as
no.
Was his super low? I can't remember.
No,
now.
Well, they didn't sort of say. No, they didn't kind of go into the details of it. And definitely, it's still heaps of people do still get pregnant with a low sperm count. It's not, but I just felt like it was too quick for me and
too pat.
Yeah. But that might just have been a bit of my personal response to it. So at this stage, all of the characters are reaching their end of their development arcs. What did you think about that? You're happy with the resolutions of everybody and where they could go from here?
It's become kind of the Smithy and Ness story in a lot of ways, especially, given that Gavin and Stacey are now on their path to parenthood and all that sort of thing. So you can just see how much Smithy is growing up and growing into his dad role. But also, you hinted at Ness getting a bit better at, I don't know, people skills maybe. But that moment when she finally thanks Gwen after just being so terrible to Gwen the whole time and then saying, I didn't invite my mother because my mother is here and you're my mother. And I thought that was just lovely. And I guess it made me think that Nessa, in a lot of ways, is an eternal teenager. The very bad way that she treated Gwen is I guess, a bit like how a teenage daughter is to their mum, where it's all taken, but they know they're in a safe spot, so they can lash out. And
that's an interesting, because that was the same for me. She's the big one for this. She was so mean about the dress. I couldn't believe it when Gwen says, would you like to try it on? She said, well, there's no need because if you've got the measurements right, it fits. And if it doesn't, you've ruined my day. But then that is nice.
And then lied to Dave about it, saying, oh, Gwen's a nightmare. She won't do a fitting.
Yeah, I didn't. That was so, I was so upset by all that. But then she does make up for it by saying that nice thing. And then in the very final scene, we actually see Nessa smile, which my partner pointed out is the first time you see her smile. It might be the only time we see her smile across the whole 3 series when she's sitting on the wall.
Is that when Smithy says what's occurring?
Yeah.
I hadn't even picked up on that.
No. And I don't know if I would have, but but Adrian said. But yeah, at this stage, hers is the biggest development.
There's a little moment where Ness says, of course I love you, Dave, and both Dave and Stace don't believe her. I thought that was really interesting. At the same time, Dave said no, and Stacey goes, really? I love those little moments where they all say the same thing in slightly different ways, like when they're calling out Ahmed or Howell and old Clifford, the fiancé.
Oh, yeah.
All those sort of things. So that was just a little callback to that.
And what warmed your heart?
Oh, my God, that montage when they played Florence's You've Got the Love. I was just sitting there just reveling in that.
That's nice.
And obviously Ness thanking Gwen and Dave being so dignified at the end. Poor Dave.
He was excellent.
He kind of deserved better than Nessa, didn't he?
He did.
I guess he's got to learn that just because there's fireworks between the sheets, that's not the only thing he should obsess about, and that having someone who treats you nicely is much more important.
I think he's learnt that lesson. I really liked that, Gavin was over in Essex, and they were on the phone, and he had his coffee cup and it was Wales. It was really sweet. Yeah, it was really nice, how they do that little Welsh placement of coffee cups and tattoos and flags around the place and stuff. And I also thought Rudy and Smithy was lovely. They're playing in a band together, and then Rudy makes sure that Smithy's got the card for Nessa. I liked seeing them in this more gentle relationship.
Yes. And is that the bit where they prank Gavin?
Yes.
I was so impressed with her being able to repeat Gav's lines back to him, which he says without a trace of Welsh accent. And she's just suddenly got this, to my ear, perfect Welsh accent back at him. I thought, how's she doing that? Because I can only do it in copying it when I hear it. But she pulled it out of her head.
Yeah.
That was very funny. Yeah. I guess you call it acting.
Yeah. Well, maybe. And did you have a favourite joke or scene?
It was a very cute visual gag, which was when the whole carriage to the wedding.
Outstanding.
So Ness is in the throne on the trailer in her full kind of Game of Thrones wedding dress, and Stacey's, I think, in something much more traditional, and she gets to sit in the pink beanbag on the trailer. And then they're so excited, and Stacey, as she leaves, is like, woo, woo, like this, and then they pull up at the church, and it's freezing, and Stacey's almost immobilised by how cold she is. She's got none of her former enthusiasm. Oh, I laughed and laughed.
I really laughed at that because this probably didn't happen to you because you didn't grow up in regional towns. When we were young and we used to go to the rubbish dump and take the trailer, and then we were allowed to be in the trailer on the way back from where the rubbish dump was to the gate, and it was the most horrible experience. Like, you're all jiggling around and everything, but I don't know, we always pretended it was good. And then one day, a friend of mine from school was with us, and we said, we can get in the trailer. So we got in the trailer, and her look at me was hilarious because it was actually, I could see myself through her eyes, and I was just like, why am I believing my dad that being in the back of the trailer is fun? It's awful. It's dusty, and you're bumping around, and the wind is whipping your hair around. So it was very strangely relatable. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've been in the back of a trailer. I can't remember, but I grew up in Canberra, which is semi-regional.
I don't know. Did Canberrans, though? They probably don't have the same attraction to rubbish tips as we did in industrial cities in the 1970s.
Discuss, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I did enjoy that.
So I did like that Dave had chosen for his wedding poem that famous funeral one, Stop the Clock.
That was outstanding.
Pam's just classic Pam line about being so excited to have Gavin there without Stacey and saying, it's just my little prince, and looking to Mick and my handsome king. And then she looks between them and says, and me in the middle, the Duchess of Cornwall. So Pam. Oh, and the other visual gag I really liked was Gwen's cake toppers for the wedding.
Oh, they were so nice. They were great.
They looked exactly like Dave and Nessa. I thought, oh, my God, I hope somebody kept them. They were fantastic.
They were really good.
And I guess that moment when instead of being so excited that Stacey's pregnant, he's going to be a dad, is that all Gavin can say is my balls work, and just keep saying it. And it's funny, you know. It's like, well, I mean, it makes sense in the immediacy of it. You can't picture what you don't have in a lot of ways. Like, not I'm never going to be a father because that's still really abstract. But my balls are broken is quite a thing that you could get really like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, there was one more. It's so small. But do you ever get annoyed watching a television program and they never lock their cars properly when they walk away or shut the doors? They just walk away from their cars. And there's one moment when Stacey wants to drag him upstairs to show him the 34 pregnancy tests. And as he's being hauled up the stairs, he's just pointing the remote down and clicking the car locked. I went, thank you. Thank you for locking that car.
Well, which he probably doesn't need to out the front of their house in Barrie. I'm sure it's safe, but yes.
But he's from Essex. He's always been
that's true.
Here. No.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you have some? Have I missed any?
No, that was really the one for me was the trailer. It was so funny. Them both sitting up there. Yeah.
And Stacey just so frozen at the end. There was one more, is that the walk down the aisle to Rose Tattoo.
Oh, when she just
and Ness makes an entrance on the massive drum break, and she just comes out full leather princess. And that I laughed at that as well. That was perfect.
I really enjoyed everything about her wedding, like her preparations, her dress, her head night, everything. I did enjoy. Yeah. All right. Well, we are in the last episode of the last season, and here we are at the stage where we ask each other a question to see what the other person has or hasn't remembered. So do you have a question for me?
Well, can you remember what flavour face mask Pam was wearing when Rudy came in and she couldn't talk to Rudy? She's like, oh, Rudy, how are you? Because her face is...
I can, because I have written it down. It's only taken me 3 whole seasons. Is it lavender and jasmine?
It is.
Yay. All right, so my question for you is, what are Bryn and Smithy's nicknames for each other when they cross paths at the, what do they call them? Services.
Yeah. Services, I think, motorway services. Yeah. I do remember that scene. That's really nice, all that stuff about meeting there and doing the baby, isn't it?
It was a really nice way to show the resolution of Smithy and Neil the baby and to show that it was going to be okay. Yeah. That he was taking the baby while Nessa gets married and is on her honeymoon, He's going to look after it with Rudy.
Yeah.
He was excited, a little bit nervous, and him and Nessa had that lovely exchange together about it. I thought it was really good. It was nicely pitched, and it wasn't saccharine, and it just showed you that it was all going to be all right.
I enjoyed it too. And all that meeting and Stacey, we can come home. I'm literally getting in the car now. All of that. I can remember it was hot dog and Brin burger.
Well, I don't know how you managed to remember things. Like, there's no way I would have been able to remember that if I hadn't written it down or remembered it. You are correct. They were hot dog and Brin burger. Very excellent names. Well, so that is that. We know there's 2 Christmas specials to come, but let's have a quick chat about our original questions when we first started this rewatch. Do you still love it?
Oh, yeah, so much. Just enjoyed it. And I'm getting so excited about this new one. And I feel sometimes when it's the next series, you think, oh, are they going to mess it up? I feel like they're not. I don't think they will. I think we're in really safe hands.
Yeah, I haven't felt nervous about that at all, actually. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm still loving it. In fact, I think after watching it so carefully this time around, I love it even more than I did. There's so much beautiful subtlety in the writing that I hadn't picked up. Yeah. It's really lovely. All right.
And just given that whole moment to have stupid conversations. I don't know that it's been done as well anywhere else in television. Yeah, usually it's about plot. And I just love them taking the time to have a stupid conversation about outdoor heating or motorway services. You wouldn't think it would be good television, but it really is. I just love it.
I think it's just because they're so good at character development and keeping characters true to themselves and the actors being true to the characters.
Yeah, and they're very good at the little surprises too. Like you think you know where it's going, and then having a maverick like Nessa. Oh, actually, they're all kind of mavericks in their own way. You don't know what they're going to come out with. Stacey's been so cute the whole way, and then she has that epic stare down with the girl in the chemist, and you just think, oh, that's fantastic. And I didn't see that coming, and it's really good.
Yeah.
So it's a great series. It's so good.
All right. Well, we'll be back with the Christmas special, the last episode before the very last episode, I guess it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you soon, Kazla.
Thanks, Tracy. Have a great week.
Bye.